Three, two, one. Hey everyone, Anees here. Today I have Scott Baumberger, and we will be discussing how Scott grew his business in architectural visualization 100% in 6 months. Welcome, Scott. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. Let's kick it off. And could you please briefly introduce yourself and your business?
Sure. Thank you, Anees. It's great to be here. Yes, I have been in architectural visualization for over 25 years, and I started my own company, Baumberger Studio, back in 1999. And so I've seen lots of ups and downs, and yeah, let's see. The industry has changed so much, and there's a lot to stay on top of. So yeah, I'm anxious to see what's next.
Wow, impressive! Like 25 years, like um, literally, like I don't know many people who are in your experience, to be honest. And I was really fascinated when I first met you. Um, you have you have been through all the phases where the industry has evolved. So could you please, like, you have 25 years of experience. What makes your service unique?
Well, I think I've learned a lot during that time. Definitely seen this is, I think, now our fourth downturn. So it's maybe not quite as scary as the first or second one, but that gives someone a little bit extra perspective and clarity when you're working with clients. And I think what all this comes down to is service and being able to understand where the client is coming from and what they're trying to get. And obviously with more experience, you have more to draw from, and perhaps better solutions in mind.
Great, I see. Um, so we can say that you have been evolving in the industry with your clients. Is it right?
Yeah.
Somehow?
Yeah.
Okay. If we go back before the time that we have met, like, could you please let me know, like, how your business has evolved and which year was the best year for you, like, through 25 years?
Sure. Well, it started almost as a hobby. It was something that I had done, before going out on my own. I worked for various architecture firms, doing a lot of in-house stuff, and enjoyed it, but it had its own frustrations. And so I took the leap, and I gave myself a year or two, like, let's just see how this goes. And I could always fall back on what I knew, but and it just turned into this thing. And here we are 20 years later. So yeah, it's always just been me, but certainly over the years, as projects, bigger ones come through, I've had to, be creative about bringing other people and asking for help and doing those things. But it's always been, the heart of it. How has it changed over that time? The tools have changed so much, but certainly at the end of the day, what all of us in Archviz are doing really hasn't changed that much. Clients come to us with a very, very specific problem, and we have our expertise, and we just try to fix it and solve whatever immediate problems they're looking to get.
Great. So you were an architect, right?
Well, I never, still to this day, have not quite become licensed, but even though I got very close. But yes, I worked for about 10 years at different architecture firms. Bounced around quite a bit. The Callison, which is in Seattle, and then Cohn Pedersen Fox in New York. And like I said, I was towards the end. It was nothing but renderings. I was just in-house, not even really by design. It just sort of, I had an affinity for it and enjoyed it. I kept saying yes when people asked. It's really what it comes down to. And as I said, it's there was an opportunity to jump out on my own, and they were really supportive. And I think that was a, a, a really big differentiator. I had sort of a backstop when I went out on my own. They were, can't tell you how supportive they were. They were my first client. I had lots of questions, and they were very forthcoming, and hard to say if it would have worked out the way it did without them. So it's still very appreciative.
Great, great. So in the last of course, being an architect for 10 years, working in architectural firms has helped you to understand your clients, because most of our clients are architects. So,
absolutely. Yeah.
Could you briefly say what goals have you tried to achieve during this experience of 25 years in Archviz industry?
Oh, all kinds of goals. I think at the beginning I was just trying to survive, and then once I sort of found my way, it was trying to elevate the client list and do interesting and thoughtful work, and then I tried to survive again with various downturns. But I think along the way, you want to try to find meaning in your work, and I'm very gratified by the relationships that I've had over the years, providing the service, and working with some of the same people that I've been able to work with for 20 plus years. So being able to be a part of something bigger is really satisfying.
Okay, great. Well, I know some of your background, but maybe who is viewing this interview doesn't know. So could you please tell me what tipping points or what awards have you won in the past, and what motivated you through this way to stay in this industry?
Yeah, I think it's just fun, so that's the short version, right? It's just a fun thing to do. Always had fun, and it's like a cool little sandbox that we're in that we get to play with. It's we have lots of really cool toys. But what has sort of kept me going is it's also just being out on my own has given me tremendous freedom, and for a long time I would just look around and be like, I can't believe I get to do this, and if I want to take off on a Wednesday, I can just go do that. It just didn't feel real for a very long time. And then as I got a bit older, we had kids, and it's allowed me to be a bigger part of their lives as they grow up. I'm right there, or working just around the corner, and so I was able to spend so much more time with them than if I had been commuting and had a very demanding architecture job. So in that way, it's been really great.
Fantastic. Yeah, I really appreciate your journey. 25 years is really a long way in our industry. Like for me, like it's I cannot imagine me myself after 10 years in this industry. I don't know, but let's hope for the best.
Well, what's funny is like back then there was no such thing as Archviz industry, as it was just something that needed to happen sometimes. We didn't even know what to call it, and so it's really only something it's funny to me that now we have an industry, and people talk about career in this industry, and that's something that just didn't exist in the 90s, say.
Yeah, I can imagine. So could you please a little bit go back when you have started your own company in architectural visualization?
Sure.
Who were the big players at that time?
Well, there were very few. Some of them are still around. You would recognize D-Box, Neoscape. Some of them are gone. Archimation was a big one at the time. Let's see, Hayes Davidson. I think dates back to even before that, although they're in London, I was in New York, and we didn't really cross paths as much. But yeah, there were very few players, but then there were lots of little ones. There were lots of one-man shops, still doing traditional watercolor, pen and ink kind of work, certainly well into the 2000s. And so it was an interesting time because the industry was really changing. From a client perspective, they had a much wider range of artistry, to draw from. I think today it's become a little bit more narrow. So maybe, a little sad, but of course it's gotten a lot easier to create images too. So
Absolutely.
Pros and cons as you go.
Absolutely. Yeah. During your way, could you sum up some of the problems that you were trying to solve during your business?
Well, I think it's always a challenge, getting the work done in the time that is needed, and that's always faster and faster. Still trying to make money at the end of the day, and then also just for myself, my own satisfaction. Am I proud of what I'm doing? And thinking about, is this good enough? Is it good enough for me? Hopefully it's good enough for the client. If it wasn't, you'll hear about it. But is it good enough for me? And is it something that I can, think about marketing? Is it something that I can use for marketing the next job? And so I think about that whenever I'm working on a project. It's like, this is a chance to get the next project, the one that I'm doing right now.
Exactly, yeah. Like with each new project, it's going to become easier for you to get a new project.
Exactly.
So you have mentioned marketing. Regarding marketing, what efforts or what actions have you made in the marketing domain to market your service in the past?
Yeah, it's
recently.
In the past. Sure. It's definitely changed. Social media is, a thing that didn't exist for a lot of the time that I was doing business. So my foundation is a core of repeat clients, and so it's really been just laser focused on their needs and staying in touch with them, staying front of mind. For most of the time, that meant traveling to them to meet them face to face. Just again maintain those connections. If I'm on the West Coast and they're in New York or somewhere else, it can be hard. I mean, it's easy to be forgotten about. So that's really the core of it. And I think I've put a lot of effort over the years in marketing my services that way. But, things change and you have to be more creative, and it's a more competitive industry now than it certainly was. There are a lot more players. So it's a lot tougher.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, our industry is booming now. You have mentioned the transition between one-on-one meeting or presentations during social media. When have you noticed that you need to change the way you market yourself?
Yeah, I think that over the years, I've primarily, I've had relationships with architects because that's my background and that's how I got started. And you stay in touch with people and they move around and you get connected with a new company as a result. And so it's somewhat viral in that aspect. But what's happened over the last, say, 5 to 6 years is that the architects aren't really commissioning as much Archviz. Even though there's a lot more of it, it's not necessarily coming from them. They're doing a lot more in-house. They just don't need us as much as they used to. And that's okay. And so I've had to kind of retool and think about different kinds of clients, different kinds of services to stay relevant and stay busy. So yeah, I think that was a big change. And I'd say within the last, say, 2 to 3 years, been reaching out more to developers and
Mm-hmm.
learning a bit, a little bit more deeply about their business model, their insights, their needs, which are a little bit different, of course, than architects. So
Absolutely.
it's been a good challenge, right?
Yeah. Great, great. I love your last point. Like you have mentioned something really important. Like it's changing the scope from architects to developers is
Mhm.
totally different. Like those are two different groups. Like
Yeah.
totally different. Um, if we can say like you have mentioned like in the past 2 3 years you wanted to evolve or not to evolve like to transform your business to be more online or on social media.
Yeah. Yeah.
What problems have you faced doing that, and like do you have somehow 2 3 points like you found really hard to accomplish going on social media?
It is. It's hard. It's a different animal, and so everybody has to find their own way. And for me, I think the problem is one of motivation and creating a schedule and sticking to it. I think
Mhm.
what I find is that I'll get busy and then I'll say, well, I don't need to do another post or whatever it is,
Mhm.
and then all of a sudden the work stops and it gets quiet, and so you have these really big ups and downs. And so I
Mhm.
think one thing that I've really learned throughout all of this is to make sure that you're regular and intentional about um, all of your marketing and including social media.
Great, great. You have mentioned something really important, like the ups and downs. Uh,
Hmm.
when you don't have work, you will go to social media. When you have work, it's going to be
Sure.
very, very hard. Have you tried to search for solutions for that?
No, not really. Not prior to our
Mhm.
meeting. I think it's a bit of a curse.
Mhm.
Being an architect or coming from that background, is that you will just want to solve it yourself. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I've definitely seen that, in my clients, of course. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think you kind of internalize it. You're like, oh, I know what I'm doing. I know my business better than anyone, so I should be able to go out and find the right voice
Mhm.
or the right messaging. And it's not always true. So it's good to get help.
Great, great. Regarding the thing about social media, has it affected your business in some ways? Like being not stable or not consistent on social media, has it affected your business in some ways? If yes, what has it affected your business? I think those things we haven't talked about it in the past, maybe.
Yeah, it's hard. One of the things I find with social media is it's hard to kind of quantify.
Uh-huh.
When somebody calls me out of the blue, it's like, oh, that's great. How did you find me? And then but oftentimes you don't know. And it's
Yeah.
like, oh, well, somebody said something, or somebody recommended you. Well, how did they find you? I have no
Mhm.
idea, right? And
Yeah.
that's sort of the beauty of it. But it also is, I find, much more difficult to track and, like I said, just kind of put numbers to. Um, but it's Yeah, I think it's become vitally important
Mhm.
to stay on top of, for sure.
Absolutely. Um, do you remember when we have met the first time?
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. I think we found each other on LinkedIn, and I've
Yeah.
been a lot more active on LinkedIn over the past year.
Uh-huh.
So maybe it was just a matter of time before we found each other. But uh, yeah, it was interesting. You have a very unique business model, and it was just one of those um, circumstances, the right place, right time. Like I was thinking about getting help, looking for help, and then
Mhm.
you know here you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really great.
I really thank you for all your trust. And one question, like somehow I know that many people, they know they need help and they are searching for help, but not everyone is open to say that I need help. What
Mhm.
has motivated you to say that, or during our discussion to say, hi, Anees, I need help? What is
Yeah.
the reason behind that? Like,
Oh, yeah. I think it's the industry has really changed. It's changed a lot, but I think within the last, again, 2 to 3 years, kind of that time frame, it has really changed. It's
mhm,
it's a different thing than it was. And yeah, there's sort of been this building sense of being overwhelmed, trying to stay on top of all of the different tools,
mm,
social media channels, um, making the face-to-face, connections.
yeah, yeah.
It's just became. I just had the realization that it was more than one person could possibly do, and I felt myself being stretched too thin.
Mm,
That I wasn't getting enough work, and the work that I was doing was maybe like not necessarily the actual work, but like the clients, the projects weren't as good, as interesting as they had been. And I was,
mm,
there's fear of missing out. Like there's great stuff happening out there, but I'm not finding it. Why is that? And so I had to kind of reevaluate, think about doing things differently so that I'm top of mind with the people that I want to be with.
great, interesting. And if we would like to sum up the results that you have seen working together, what could be the results?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's been great. I think just having a coach, having somebody keeping me on track instead of getting distracted with something or getting overly busy. I think it's been a really great um, vehicle for like I said, being intentional with the marketing, with the message, stepping back from your day-to-day operation, and you see things a little differently. And so, having somebody to bounce ideas off of, to work with and hone all of those things has been just invaluable. And I
Yeah,
think just real quick, your experience in Archviz, I think, is also very unique. There are a lot of people who I think do similar things, but don't have the knowledge of our industry that you do, which is, again, really, really valuable.
great. Thank you. I'm really happy that you have got the results that you have looked
Me
for.
too.
Um, one thing like in my mind, like you meet coaches or marketing consultants or business
Yeah.
consultants. You talk to them, but it is not always clear why someone would like to do business with you.
Hmm.
Do you have something that really um, like this inner voice, okay, I would like to work with this person? Is there something specific in my way that
Mm.
made you say, okay, let's do it?
Well, yeah, I think it took a kind of a one-on-one conversation when we first started
Mhm.
chatting. I think you very quickly, we were kind of messaging each other on LinkedIn. And you're like, you know what, let's just do a phone call. Like, let's just jump in and do that.
Mhm.
And it's I think just right away, it's like you're looking to make a connection.
Mhm.
And um, and what I was really struck by is how well you were listening. Like you you very quickly, we very quickly got to the heart of the matter, and I felt like you were engaged and really listening to a very, very specific problem, very unique problem. I think that I was facing. Um, there's very few people like me left in this industry, simply working on their own. So I think it was a unique puzzle to solve. And like I said, very quickly we were able to get some strategies in place.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you very
Of
much.
course. Oh, absolutely. You're welcome.
So having said that, do you recommend others to work with me?
Yeah, of course. I think a lot of what I learned, I think would apply to a lot of other artists and people just getting started out. I a different path, different like stage, I guess. But I think that it's if you have your own business, I see that as a problem in our industry. Is that there are a lot of great artists, but there are very few good business people.
Mhm.
And so it's important to remember to focus on those things and make good decisions and as a way of surviving. Just if you want to keep doing great art, you have to take care of that, or else it's not going to work.
Great, great. And you have mentioned that people who are starting out in their business in Archviz, do you think that those are the people that are a good fit for me, or do you have in mind another categories?
Well, I think that's yeah, I think that's probably the most likely candidate. But as we've seen, I think it applied to somebody who had 20 plus years experience as well.
Mhm.
The lessons in a lot of ways are the same. So yeah, I think even a small company, even if there were several people, could certainly benefit from um, having an outsider kind of look at what is working and what's not working, and help kind of refocus the efforts. Because, like I said, I was feeling really stretched out. It's like, well, should I try Instagram? Should I try Facebook? Should I, all these different channels? Like, there's so many different things that are possible, but maybe only a handful of them are really going to work in our industry. And so, if you can focus your efforts on the things that work, it's like night and day,
Yeah.
right?
And as you have mentioned, like it's always becoming stressful, many channels,
Hmm.
and in case someone who is a good fit for me, why do you think that they need to act, for example, now? Like you have already said, we think that we can do everything on our own. Uh,
Yeah.
could you please say, for example, what is the reason behind they acting now? Now,
Well, I think this is an interesting point in time, and I think if you are feeling like I was, that maybe there's more out there. There's just kind of missing out on something.
Mhm.
Then why wait? This is a great point in time. Our industry is growing. I think will continue to grow. So I think there's room for everyone who's in it now. It's not, even though it is competitive, I think there's still plenty of room. And so, yeah, I think um, there's really no reason to wait if you're feeling like your business is struggling, or if something just doesn't feel right. It's like, why is it quiet around here when there's so much work to be done?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, that was really insightful. I really thank you
Oh,
for all of that. If you would like to say one tip or one advice for the Agvis community, what would it be?
um, well, when I go to conferences, before the pandemic, when I used to go to conferences, I would meet a lot of young people in the industry and sort of be struck by it. One thing I would say is just be patient. It took a long time for me to really feel like this was real and like an actual thing and not a hobby. It takes time, and don't be afraid to make mistakes, because that's how we learn. I made a ton of mistakes. You um, yeah, if I could do things differently, right? Don't be afraid of those, because that's how you get better at this. And I would say, um, if I could give you a second piece, it's like also learn how to say no. It
Ah,
can be really powerful. When I first started out, I said yes to Arrow. Yeah, sure. That's $500. Sure, I'll do that. Yeah. And this is terrible.
Yeah.
So I think it becomes really, really powerful to have your confidence, build to the point where you can say, that's not the right fit. Thanks for reaching out to me, whatever it is. Knowing who the right client is for you as a consultant, and saying no to the ones who are not.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's really insightful. One last thing, if someone would like to contact you, where can they find you?
Well, I'm on a lot of the social media channels. LinkedIn is a great place. Scott Baumberger, you can find me there. I have recently joined Elephant Skin, Archviz company, so you can certainly find me there as well. And done other kind of channels like this, and at other conferences, I've ended up meeting a lot of people all over the world now. There are a lot of us, and people reach out to me, every now and then, and it's really great to see what people are up to. If there are little things I can do to help, I love being able to do that. It's been a lot of fun, and I have found some really, really interesting people, as a result. And so please do reach out if there's anything I can do.
Fantastic. So I wish you really great success, and I'm sure that you will succeed at Elephant Skin.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Scott, and goodbye, everyone.